The Wilderness Within You, Day 38 of Lent, which is the Friday of week 6. Our first reading from the Bible is Luke 21, verses 34 to 38. I'm reading from the Good News translation. Be careful not to let yourselves become occupied with too much feasting and drinking and with the worries of this life, or that day may suddenly catch you like a trap. For it will come upon all people, everywhere on earth. Be on watch and pray always that you will have the strength to go safely through all those things that will happen and to stand before the Son of Man. Jesus spent those days teaching in the temple, and when evening came, he would go out and spend the night on the Mount of Olives. Early each morning, all the people went to the temple to listen to him. And from John's Gospel, the 8th chapter, again the Good News translation, verses 1 to 11. Then everyone went home, but Jesus went to the Mount of Olives. Early the next morning he went back to the temple. All the people gathered round him, and he sat down and began to teach them. And the teachers of the law and the Pharisees brought in a woman who had been caught committing adultery, and they made her stand before them all. "Teacher," they said to Jesus, "this woman was caught in the very act of committing adultery. In our law, Moses commanded that such a woman must be stoned to death. Now, what do you say?" They said this to trap Jesus, so that they could accuse him. But he bent over and wrote on the ground with his finger. As they stood there asking him questions, he straightened up and said to them, "Whichever one of you has committed no sin may throw the first stone at her." Then he bent over again and wrote on the ground. And when they heard this, they all left, one by one, the older ones first. And Jesus was left alone with the woman still standing there. He straightened up and said to her, "Where are they? Is there no one left to condemn you?" "No one, sir," she answered. "Well then," Jesus said, "I do not condemn you either. Go, but do not sin again." And from John's Gospel, chapter 6, verse 15, again the Good News translation. Jesus knew that they were about to come and seize him in order to make him king by force. So he went off again to the hills by himself. I love the night wind. Its fragrance is peaceful, and its quietness stirs with life. The night feels alert and vital to me as I lie in the darkness, listening to a fox bark across the valley and breathing the cool air. Outside my window, a yellow street light shines relentlessly, so my heavy linen curtains close out the stars. Behind them, just alongside my bed, the window is open to let me feel the night, so I am not cut off from its urgent, pulsing mystery. In Galilee, mountains run the whole length of the country, and the desert can be just a few minutes away from the fertile lands. Rocky hilltops, green valleys, and the silvery green of the olive groves cladding the terraced hills make a patchwork of the landscape. The Sea of Galilee is cradled between the Golan Heights and the Galilean hills. It's colder at night up in the hills. The evening breeze would have been welcome after the hot, dry heat of the day, but there is even snow sometimes high in the mountains. Did you light a little fire, Jesus, for the comfort of warmth in the hours of darkness? I try to picture him there, seeking the peace of solitude, taking refuge in the vast silence of the Father's presence, love like a rock to lean on. Like an African elephant sucking up water, 15 litres at one go. Like a huge tanker filling up with 30 tons of life-saving water to take to a place of drought. Like a camel slaking its thirst, sucking in 20 gallons of water, ready for the long trip across the desert. That ancient soul, the great and noble soul of Jesus, drinking, drinking, drinking in the Father's love and power, in the loneliness of the Mount of Olives, in the peaceful silence of the night. In those night hours alone with the Father, he incubated the wisdom and love, the strength and purpose to speak truth to power and lift up the fallen in all that the day would bring. But Jesus, I whisper, Jesus, were you never afraid, all alone in the mountains at night? The silence speaks, and I know his answer. There is nothing in nature to frighten Jesus, no wild beast, no living thing at all that does not recognize his authority and worship him. Only the evil lodged like an alien glass splinter in the human heart. There was a night in Gethsemane when the fear of what was to come almost broke him, and then he was lonely indeed. But apart from that, there is no loneliness in the heart of Jesus. The hills and the wild goats, the timid conies and the fierce lions, the tossing storms and screaming wind, they find themselves at home in his presence. They are at peace. Jesus has entered into the heart of night and drawn the sting of its desolation, because he is the light of the world. Jesus, I tell him, Jesus, I love the night. I love the reassurance of your presence intensified here in the darkness. Knowing he is with me, taking refuge in the silence of his presence, love like a rock to lean on. My eyes close in peace.